There are certain sounds you get used to when you live in a quiet, gated neighborhood. Lawnmowers humming at 9 a.m. sharp, sprinklers clicking on at sunset, the occasional dog barking at a squirrel it'll never catch. But last Tuesday there was a new sound, a thump 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 in the sky. That was the moment my life turned into a full-blown neighborhood spectacle. I had just landed my personal helicopter, yes, my helicopter, on the brand new helipad I'd built in my backyard. Not 5 minutes later, she showed up, clipboard in hand, rage in her eyes, lips pursed tighter than a snare drum. You already know the type. The capital K Karen of our HOA. She marched into my yard like she was storming the beaches of Normandy, shouting something about property values, noise pollution, and how dare I think him above the rules. She didn't ask why. She didn't ask who I was. And she definitely didn't expect what came next. Because the moment she found out who I really am, well, let's just say her jaw hit the HOA-approved pavement. But we'll get to that. First, you need to know how deep her tantrum went. And trust me, by the end of the story, you're gonna be cheering when justice lands like rotor blades in a storm. Don't blink, this is about to get wild. 3 months ago, I moved into what was supposed to be my low-key home base tucked inside a pristine, regulation-loving suburban enclave where the biggest drama was whose hydrangeas bloomed first. I was traveling a lot for work, top-level logistics consultant, and the whole reason I bought this property was accessibility. 1 hour from downtown, 15 minutes from the hospital, and most importantly, FAA clearance to build a private helipad. Yes, clearance, permits, engineering review, the works. So imagine my surprise when she showed up. Her name's Diane, but around here? She's Karen with a capital HOA. The first interaction was a passive-aggressive flyer slid under my door. Helipads not listed in HOA architectural guidelines. Please remove any non-compliant structures. HOA committee no signature. Just the committee. Cute. I emailed back, attaching the FAA clearance and county permits, politely reminding them that federal trumps HOA. 2 days later, I came home to a giant fluorescent sticker on the helipad. Unauthorized structure. Subject TO fine. That's when I saw her standing on her porch, arms crossed, watching me like a hawk who just knew she owned the sky. I waved. She didn't. Instead, the next morning, a noise complaint appeared in my inbox, filed before I even landed. That was just the beginning. Things escalated like a telenovela with a drone budget. First came the daily violations. Grass too short, too many trash bins, a mysterious guest vehicle parked overnight, which, by the way, was my brother's Prius. Then came the sabotage. I found birdseed scattered all over the helipad. Coincidence? Maybe, until I noticed the nest of aggressive crows circling the pad every time I landed. Someone had trained them with food. Then it got weirder. One afternoon, a man in khakis and mirrored sunglasses showed up claiming to be from the Neighborhood Aviation Risk Committee. I checked, no such thing exists. Guess who was watching from her porch as he asked me to cease vertical activity? Yep, clipboard Karen. My neighbors were sympathetic, but hesitant to get involved. She's intense, one whispered. I got fined once for planting the wrong color tulips. Another said. This woman had power, and she knew it. But I wasn't backing down, not after what she did next. One evening, just before a business trip, I landed as usual, and found a chain wrapped around the landing gear anchors. Pad, locked. That's not just HOA harassment. That's interference with aviation infrastructure, a felony. And that, my friends, was her biggest mistake. Because now, I was done playing nice. First, I gathered receipts, emails, permits, HOA bylaws, the fake inspector's face from my Ring camera. I was building a case, not just for me, but for everyone she'd steamrolled. Then I called a friend. Let's just say he has 3 letters before his title. Former military, now with the FAA's regulatory enforcement. We set a meeting. The next morning, I hosted a friendly gathering on my lawn. I invited neighbors, provided coffee and donuts, and casually introduced my guest in a blue windbreaker marked Federal Aviation Administration. Karen practically tripped over her lawn flamingos when she saw him. But I wasn't done. I printed out the HOA bylaws, circled every clause she'd violated in her pursuit of me, and tacked it to the community board next to the clubhouse entrance. Right below it, I posted a photo of the approved FAA permit in full color. Then I added one more thing, a sign in my yard that read, licensed helipad, compliant with federal, county, and HOA regulations. Questions? Contact FAA Rep John. Suddenly, the clipboard disappeared. Neighbors started talking. Turns out, Karen had been issuing bogus violations for years. Everyone was just too scared or too tired to fight. Not anymore. When the next HOA meeting rolled around, the room was packed. I stood, cleared my throat, and dropped a file folder thick with evidence onto the table. I calmly explained the fines, the forged committee letters, the intimidation, and the illegal lockout of a federal-cleared pad. Then I let Mr. FAA explain the felony implications. Diane? She turned pale. The board took a vote. Effective immediately, Diane was removed from the HOA committee. A full audit was ordered. Half a dozen unfair fines across the neighborhood were refunded. The noise violation rule was clarified, and my helipad? Officially grandfathered in. The best part? As I walked out, one of the neighbors who never spoke smiled at me and said, "We thought you were just some rich guy with a toy. Turns out you were the hero we needed." Not all heroes wear capes. Some of us land with propellers. It's funny how quickly the Karen energy disappears when the power's gone. Diane doesn't talk much anymore. The clipboard? Retired. Her porch flamingos? Down to one. As for me, I still land at 7:45 sharp every Tuesday. I even wave. She doesn't wave back, but she watches. Lesson learned? Don't mess with someone just because you think you can. And never chain a helipad unless you're ready for the rotors of justice. Because eventually people stop being scared and start getting even. Drop a comment below. What would you have done if Karen locked up your helipad? And if you made it this far, comment "justice served" so I know you're one of the real ones. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell because I've got plenty more stories where this one came from.